Okay.
Yeah, if you just leave it standing pat, then that part doesn't change.
Got
You
it.
usually won't lose your overarching settings unless, even if you change computers, it usually stays.
Okay. That's good to know.
Not always, but usually, because I am usually doing stuff on my work computer, and then I'll switch over to my laptop because I can't get to the DFS sites for my work laptop. So, but it usually saves most of my settings. Like,
awesome.
Maybe once a month it hiccups, but not that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome back as we get you ready for this weekend in the NFL on PrizePicks.com. Myself and EMac in the house. Mike Awesemo is producing, and we appreciate you hanging with us in the chat. We only ask one thing. Well, really two. You hit the thumbs up and you're subscribed here to all three of our amazing Awesemo channels. EMac, can't wait to see what you have cooking in the kitchen. You know, that sounds like a segment, by the way. Cooking in the kitchen with EMac.
There we go. My wife would love that. I used to do most of our cooking and stuff, but now she went what is it called? Keto. She calls it keto light.
Yeah.
So okay. I'm all about the carb. Like everything I make is carbs.
Keto
so
light.
Like, well, she'll have some carbs.
Okay.
She's not super stringent.
But like a regular human being, not like, you know, people that are just completely stripping everything out.
Yeah. Like if we go out, she'll have a beer, or she'll have wine, or she'll have things that are not necessarily keto.
Good for her.
She's crushing it on the sugar part.
Yeah, so, which I imagine is probably one of the areas that people see the most results in. It's amazing. Sugar. Oof.
Exactly. So we have a lot of things made with monk fruit and a variety of other things.
Look at that. So this really is something we could explore here. I was just saying it rolled off the tongue, but you actually have depth in the world of cooking.
I know from afar. I'm actually a pretty good cook, but now none of my things are on the approved list.
Well, so. In your house, yes, but you can always export. That's the beauty of it. All right, my friend. Let's jump into it, as we never have a ton of time here. And just remind everybody that promo code that Mike has put above our heads is there for a reason. Use it, Awesemo, AWESEMO, and we're going to match your first deposit up to $100. You're not finding that anywhere. $100. All right, my friend, we always start with people throwing the football, and I'm sure you've looked around, and I'm not going to even lead here and ask if my guy, or technically our guy in Mike and I, Jalen Hurts, because I trust that there will be a Hurts appearance somewhere throughout this show, but take it away as far as the guys in the air.
All right, absolutely. Well, we do a little bit better. Our accuracy improves with the like. So give us a couple likes here. I know we're just getting warmed up. So I've got three passing ones here, and I'm actually having under. So that doesn't always happen. So we have Kirk Cousins, who is going against Green Bay. Now, Green Bay has the number 8 passing DVOA. They have yet to allow a 300-yard passer, and Kirk Cousins has been below 190 passing yards in 2 of his last 3. Now, I don't point that out as that's like a trend that's going to happen. I just point out that it's well within the realm of possibility. He's been under this number 3, if not 4 times so far this season, and when he's gone under, he's gone under. So I think that with Awesemo having him at 231, PrizePicks having him at 255, this feels like a spot where we can look towards the under. It feels good to me, and I don't say that all that often. Now this game, this one is in Minnesota.
Yes.
So weather is not going to be a concern, but I think the conservative game plan of Minnesota is going to be. So I feel comfortable taking the under there.
Yeah, I agree. I think all around the conservative play with Cousins, and is a guy that I rostered each and every week in my season long here in the Awesemo leagues. And I was looking at, I actually benched him for Burrow as a result of that. Now I like the Burrow matchup too, but I'm really concerned that this is going to be one of these like 180. And it's not going to be Cousins is going to be terrible, right? But we've seen this before where even if he has 2 touchdowns, it's like, 175, 180 in the air, maybe a touchdown, maybe a pick, and you're walking away like, oh, why did we think Cousins would explode for 300? Packers defense has been playing better too.
Yeah. And I think it's just their conservative nature that maybe to your point, maybe he'll throw for the touchdowns. I just don't think we see the yardage.
Absolutely. No, I think you're right. That's the easiest one to fade across the board. You're spot on, sir.
All right. Our next one here. Now this one gets a little tricky because we're going into the Ralph Wilson Stadium or whatever sponsor has it now. But when I say we're going into the Ralph, we know what that means.
It's always
so we're going to be a little cold there in Buffalo. It's going to be a little wet. There's some potential rain. There's 10 to 20 mile an hour winds. Nothing, no big gusts, just kind of sustained. It's the middle of November. Come on. So we have Carson Wentz. PrizePicks has him at a 205.5 passing total.
Wow.
Buffalo does have the number one passing DVOA.
Yep.
Awesemo has him projected for 246. I've looked at 4 other projection sites that are out there because before I put this one out there, I wanted to see what others were saying. The lowest I found was 239. The highest I found was 250. So they're not doing cartwheels over Carson Wentz, but I think they're saying you're going to have to pass to move the ball, and we know you'll run it as much as you can. He just needs 205 yards.
That's it.
Does he get over 250? Well, that's a different question, and I don't think so. But 205, 205, not 250 is the number we're going for here. So I'm actually think we'll take the over. I don't think it'll be a 300-yard passing day, but this is, 205. Can't quarterbacks fall out of bed and get that after I just said bad things about Kirk Cousins?
Yeah. Look, though, to be fair, only 3 times has he gone under that number all year. And I think it's reactionary and it's great for PrizePicks. And this is another time that we constantly reference this each and every week. There's a reason why we can maneuver. And EMac is giving you such a wide gap in a lot of these. Now he's doing the work, but you can as well. PrizePicks has numbers that are low or high compared to projections. I think this is reactionary. He went over 230, 270, and then 180. And it's like, oh, okay, well, and then before that, 150. But through that, it's 3 games of over 200. We know he's throwing downfield. And even in those games, EMac, where he's not throwing for 200 yards, it's still 34 attempts against Jacksonville. So at the very least, you have a shot that he's going to be throwing a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And that is just the icing on the cake. So I'm counting on, and we know he's not going to, even in a controlled passing game, I think it will add up. And he does have a decent receivers and 3 interchangeable tight ends that are all about the same. And they're all average to above average. So I like this spot for him. Our third is Ryan Tannehill. Now, Ryan Tannehill has an over-under of 225 on PrizePicks. I'm going to just double-check that because that seems like very low. And in fact, it is 225. Yeah. He is the second one listed on the sheet.
Yep.
So Awesemo has him at 250 on our projections right now. We know that there is no Derrick Henry. We also know that McNichols is out. And he's sort of their pass catching back. Julio Jones also out. However, we've seen Tannehill since moving to Tennessee being incredibly efficient. He was efficient back with Miami. He's never had awesome receivers per se. He's had Brown. He's had some talented guys, Corey Davis, people that didn't quite ever come completely to fruition. But I think he's carried the offense more often than not from a passing perspective. So we just need him to get 225. Houston has allowed that in 7 of 9. So even in today's NFL, and with them being what I'm going to assume is heavy favorites here, let me see if I can find that quickly. So this one is in Tennessee. Yeah. Tennessee's favored by 10, right. 9.5 to 10, depending on which of the sites you look at. I like the over on this one. We probably won't get it till the 4th quarter. We're going to need to have it not be completely disaster blowout time. So, so he doesn't get the hook because they're running out of skill position players there in Tennessee. Somehow they keep winning. They need a couple ambulatory people when they get to the playoffs, if they want to make the playoffs. But the other question is, we've seen Texans be a little frisky a few times, and that was with Davis Mills. They now have Tyrod Taylor back.
Correct.
Tyrod Taylor. Well, he changed it.
He did?
It's Tyrod, yes. We've been pronouncing it incorrectly this whole time.
When did he change it?
I think the beginning of this season, he let everybody know
so
that we were doing it incorrectly.
Got
he
it,
just
got
didn't
it.
tell anybody.
All right, I feel much better now. I thought this was like back when he was with the Chargers, and I'm just that much of an idiot that I forgot.
Oh no.
Okay.
No. He was at the T-Mobile is what his nickname was, I think, in college, and then when he was the backup here in the Baltimore area, way back in the day.
That's a pretty cool nickname, I have to say.
Yeah.
Not that I'm pro corporate nicknames here, but that actually works by all means. All right. So that pretty much, as you look at for Tannehill, the difference you're going to go over here simply because of the matchup. Yeah. And you have to at 225.5. I'm with you. Houston is miserable.
It just seems like it just seems appropriate.
I agree.
For these here. Do you want to tell them how PrizePicks works real quick?
Sure. So basically, as you see in the background, is EMac is laying out the difference between the numbers you see with PrizePicks and what we have on Awesemo, where you should always be going to check Alex's projections. Mike has the site, prizepicks.com. I always say this, right? It's the king over unders. It's where you can go, and it's as simple as just going over or under. And the beauty of it is you're not relegated to it being the same sport. Now, you can't go and build a ticket with the same player. You have to choose one specific prop with it, but you can build it, and then throughout your ticket, if it's the NBA, if it's the NFL, if it's college football. And we have shows with PrizePicks on Awesemo that are specifically geared for each sport. So theoretically, you could just pick a day and say, oh, all right, well, I want to build a college football ticket, but I really know the NBA, so I can just combine the two. And that's the beauty of PrizePicks, is that you're not stuck in one sport. And look, from A.J. Brown, David Johnson, you can see Mike is scrolling through a lot of great and really smart categories, especially with some guys that you won't be able to bet on at books. Trust me, I try. I look at these numbers, our projections, and think, all right, well, are they even on books? They're not. They're only at PrizePicks. So it's really a intricate and more unique way to just play over-unders. And then we'll give you the promo code on top of that, Awesemo, and match the first 100 that you put in.
Yeah, and that just works out to be truly a great thing here with the promo code and everything else, because the whole point here is to try to make money, try to not redeposit, and that is something that gets us so far the way there, because you get a feel for how it's working out. I mean, you don't have to play. You can do a $1 bet, you can do a $2 bet, $3 bet. Don't blow through it all at once. Get your feel for it to determine what you like. They have contests for everything: second half football games, first half football, the primetime games. If you feel you got 3 but you want to go for 4, as Eytan said, pick another sport, find something else. You have a lot of flexibility here.
I do that a lot, where we'll have shows for PrizePicks on a sport that maybe I'm not paying as much attention to, or I don't know as much as far as looking at the different, like the sharp angles of it, and then combine that with a ticket that I'm already looking at, if it's the NFL or specifically here with college. So it's great for anybody who's kind of like moving along and trying to figure out where they can get in. That's the beauty of it. We're always going to have projections and a show for you. All right, man, let's move to the guys on the ground here. And as we've been doing throughout the season, doesn't mean that it's all running backs. It's just rushing yards specifically. And I'll let you begin, EMac.
All right. So key thing here for the rushing yards, I was looking around at of course, at a lot of different ones. The one that's really going to pop is Jeff Wilson. So Eli Mitchell is doubtful to play. He hurt his jammed a finger or sprained a finger in the first quarter of their primetime game. And the coach said he didn't say anything to anybody, but they don't want to have him play. We know that Sermon is just not going to be happening at this point. And we know Kyle Juszczyk is not going to carry the ball a lot. That means Jeff Wilson, who we have seen multiple times, should be out here in the mix, should be, getting a lot of action. And we just need him to get a little over 70 yards. Now that's completely doable. Now Awesemo hasn't updated his projections yet, but they did have Mitchell, because they're working on him right now, but they did have Mitchell in currently, and he has at 78 yards. Even with that, Jeff Wilson still has like 23 or 27 yards, somewhere right around there. So he's not going to get all the yards, because we know the 49ers will put multiple people in the backfield, but we know whomever is the prime guy is going to get the workload, is going to get the opportunities, and that's going to be their goal. So he's relatively healthy. He's just played a little bit last week. He was activated the week before, even though he didn't play. So they're not, they if any team knows about running back injuries, it is the 49ers. And then it's the Seahawks, and then it's Cleveland, and then it is Baltimore. Year after year after year.
That's true. It's very true, my friend. And I love it. I love the play there with Wilson, especially because of what happened with Mitchell. Now, that's not that even large of a gap compared to what we have next with Ekeler, right?
So Eckler's an interesting one, and I wanted to go look a little deeper into this one as well, because we have a pretty big gap on this one. So I checked some alternative sources here. So PrizePicks has Ekeler at 54.5 rushing yards. He's going against Pittsburgh. This is the Sunday night football game. So Pittsburgh they have the 17th rushing DVOA, 15th passing DVOA. They've been slipping. And that's something where why I wanted to dig into this a fair amount was because I couldn't understand why there was such a difference here. Now, the only thing I could think of is they think he won't do as much running. He'll get his via receiving, and they'll use one of the other backs that whichever one happens to be healthy at the moment, because they're, Roundtree and Kelly and, Josh Jackson. I think it's Josh Jackson. Whichever one, they're all interchangeable, and one of them's always hurt. So surprisingly, we've seen Ekeler do a little bit more from a rushing standpoint. So if we go look at the Steelers running backs against the Steelers, I mean, last week they Godwin Igwebike got 2 carries for 56, nice. Jamar Jefferson 3 for 41, but DeAndre Swift 33 for 130, David Montgomery 13 for 36 prior to that, Nick Chubb 16 for 61, Alex Collins of all people 20 for 101, Javonte Williams 8 for 60, Aaron Jones 15 for 48 that same game, Dylan 15 for 81, Joe Mixon 18 for 90, Peyton Barber 13 for 32, Devin Singletary week 1 11 for 72. So they're gonna give up the yards. We just need it to go to Ekeler, and I think we will in this particular matchup. I went and looked at a few other sites, and again, Awesemo is not the most aggressive, sure. But the lowest I found was 62, and that is still well above the 54. The highest I found was 79. And that was above Awesemo. So it seems like at least we're sort of in the range there, and I really like this one. Now, where if you're feeling a little worried or a little burned, we can start to look at Edward Ekeler fantasy points, and then we can work into touchdown. It's full PPR, etc. But I'm okay with the yardage total at this point. Now let's talk real quick about his actual yardage totals. So going back with, I'm just going to read them all real quick, because it's just, you guys just need to know it. This is starting in week 1, 15 for 57, 9 for 45, 9 for 54, 11 for 55, 15 for 117, 17 for 66, 6 for 7. That was against Baltimore, as a disaster. 11 for 64, 17 for 59, 11 for 44. He's going to be right around there. Absolutely. Without even trying.
Right. And Baltimore's the outlier, clearly. I mean, that's right there. It's rather sharp as far as this average is concerned, and then you factor in our own projections and what Alex has on site, and it makes sense to hammer it.
All right. Absolutely.
I see our old friend has made an appearance, EMac.
All right. Are you ready to talk Jalen Hurts? And of course you are, because
I can't wait. I look forward to this.
So every week we keep putting the over, and he has, I think, delivered on all but one now. I still think this number should be around 58 and a half, 61. Yep. That's about where it should be every week, just by default with this guy. Now, he is going against the number 1 rushing DVOA in New Orleans. However, Awesemo has him projected for 62 and a half yards. I did look elsewhere, and the consensus seems to be mid-50s. So we're a little bit higher than that. But again, we just need him to go over 43. Do you know how many 100-yard rushing games in his career that Jalen Hurts has?
Is this a trick question?
No.
3?
It is 1. I thought it was more than 1.
Yeah, I didn't think it would be more than 3. 3 was my ceiling, but okay.
Did you know it was against this same New Orleans squad.
Absolutely.
Barely 15 games ago.
That's the Taysom Hill game. Absolutely. Where the New Orleans, I think Winston was on the bench and we were making fun of Sean Payton with his refusal to go to anybody other than Taysom Hill. And I remember that. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
So we're going back to the beginning now.
Yes.
This we know what we're getting from Jalen Hurts. I don't care who the opponent is. And by the way, New Orleans way better this year than they were last year. But we've seen a nice track record. I think 40-45 is what I would think is a baseline. While he may not get over 75, he's been right around the low 60s more often than not. And I think that's appropriate. And that's where Awesemo has him as well, even in a difficult matchup, because we know he's going to have to get it done more or less himself. And he's not afraid to do that. And he's the one. The only thing that makes me nervous is if when they do the RPO, if the New Orleans Saints just say, we know you're not passing it, we're just going to focus on you. That would be the only problem.
Here's the thing to your point is if they shut the RPO down or if they anticipate the RPO, it's going to go back to traditional passing. And the head coach here has only ran the ball consistently for 3 games. It's not like this has been their identity all season. We've seen what happens when they throw a ton, they're down, and then Jalen has these amazing fourth quarters. At some point, and I think it's going to be earlier than not, to your point, EMac, the Eagles are going to have to throw the football and will throw the football. And then a lot of stats and a lot of metrics don't account for what happens when a quarterback runs after the pass play breaks down or the pocket breaks down. That's where you can get half, if not 2/3 of that number on one run from Hurts.
So here's the perfect example. Mac Jones has a career high 28 rushing yards against this New Orleans squad on 6 carries. Mac Jones has had 56 positive net yards in 65 attempts. That accounts for sacks and lost yards. He's not a running quarterback. That's back in his Alabama days.
Right.
Taylor Heineke 5 for 40. Geno Smith 3 for 12. Now that's not great, but I'm just saying these are guys that you would not expect to run.
Yeah.
And Geno Smith is not a running guy, no matter
No.
Not today's, not 32-year-old Geno Smith.
Right.
24-year-old Geno Smith, a little more mobile coming out of college and all that, but not current Geno Smith.
I like it, though. I think you have a good number and a good range there. All right, so we're winding down. I know we have to get to receiving yards and then the always favorite anytime TD before we sneak out of here, EMac.
All right. Did you know that Michael Gallup is out, or pardon me, Amari Cooper is out with the COVID. So he had a positive test. He's going to miss the next 2 games. Michael Gallup did return. Of course, we have CeeDee Lamb, but I want to look at the other 2 guys there. Now we've got the fireworks game here, the Cowboys versus Kansas City. This is just going to be a fun game to watch. Hopefully we get some, like Kansas City and the Rams from a few years back when they put up, whatever, 100 points, or was that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the Rams.
You have a good shot here.
Yeah, so we'll see. That would be a lot of fun. So we have Cedric Wilson at 28 yards. Awesemo has him for 38. So I think that's reasonable. Michael Gallup, they have PrizePicks has for 31.5. Awesemo has it for 58. So I really like the Gallup one. I started looking at Wilson, but then I saw the Gallup one. I'm like, wait a second. I would have thought they'd have Gallup closer to 52 or 57.
That's
not yet. By kickoff, perhaps. These are not static lines. These will change. If you want to get in on them, you got to get in on them now.
I love it. Yeah, exactly right. It's the warning that we give out on these Saturday shows to get you prepared to jump in right now. All right, man, let's wind down. Anytime touchdown.
All right. Well, I was looking at Cam. You may have heard Cam Newton's back.
I have.
Now, technically, is this a revenge game against his old coach who has gone through how many quarterbacks and never gave Cam a call for his new team?
Yeah, I can see that.
Just saying.
I can see that. I like that angle. I'm a big fan of the narrative.
But I believe I'll have to pull it up. But Cam had multiple touchdowns. He has 1.5, so he needs to get 2 touchdowns. Passing counts, rushing counts for anytime touchdowns. I like Christian McCaffrey a little better. McCaffrey has about a 57% chance to score on the ground, about a 12% chance to score through the air. That gets us almost up to 70% chance. We just need a touchdown. Remember how many touchdowns that McCaffrey got while Cam Newton was his quarterback. This is not the Patriots that we saw last year where it was just like Cam's like, I I gotta, and Belichick's like, I gotta prove I made the right decision. Cam's I gotta prove I still got something left. Even if I run it in Steve Grogan style, 17 times in a year, no one's gonna get that reference, but that's okay. Steve Grogan at one point held the most rushing touchdown records in the NFL. Steve Grogan was an old, broken down guy when he did it.
You are dating yourself as you continue to explain.
I had his football card back in the 1981 Pop series.
Yes. Next is like, I wore his number in Pop Warner before it was even Pop Warner, before Pop was even born.
Me and Jim Thorpe talked about him back in the day.
Oh, it's great. No, the numbers speak for it, man. McCaffrey right there, over. Anytime touchdown. We jammed a lot in. I know we got a jet, but it's always a pleasure. We never have enough time because we always go down a rabbit hole and have to.
We always go down the Jalen Hurts. We're not worthy.
I blame you. All right. That's the EMac. I'm Eytan. We're back next week. Thanks to Mike Awesemo for producing. PrizePicks.com. Use our promo code Awesemo, and we'll match your first deposit up to $100. Have a great weekend.